goes meow, bird goes.
Yeah, I actually don't have the plugs for this thing. Yeah, I gotta go and find it somewhere, and to be honest, I only know a few songs anyways. I just think it looks cool, so that's why I decided to bring it out for this next segment. Anyways, let me just put it back over there. So anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is TV shows right now. In particular, there's 3 TV shows that I wanted to talk about. The first one is by the creators of Family Guy and American Dad and the Cleveland Show, minus Seth MacFarlane, except for the fact that he has a very minimum insight into what the characters are like producing, basically. But other than that, everything else, but it is the same team that made the movie Ted, minus Seth MacFarlane. So the directors, the writers, and all that, with Seth Green. So you at least do get one Seth. But basically, I think it's a decent sitcom, but I would say that's about it. I don't really think there's anything special about this show, but I think it does have potential of being funny, and I'm really a fan of everything Seth Green does. So I'll give it another like 5 or 6 episodes and see how it does. My prediction is it'll probably do about 2 or 3 seasons and then get canceled. So I don't see this show lasting very long, but I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope the show blows me away. The very first episode was kind of like reminded me of like Everybody Loves Raymond, but instead of his mom nagging him, it's his dad, and instead of just one person, it's 2 people. So basically, the 2 main characters are both in situations where their dad is nagging them and living with them and giving them a hard time and all that. So that's basically what the storyline is. So basically, I give it 3 stars and with potential. So see, I do suggest you go out and see it for yourself and see what you guys agree. The next show I want to talk about is a show called The Mako Island Mermaids, H20. Basically, it's a kids show with a bunch. It's about 3 girls who are mermaids in high school, and in this particular show, there's a guy that's also a mermaid that they become friends with, and then their principal is also a mermaid, and it's a recreation of another show that was just called H2O, Just Add Water, and basically that was the same premise except for the fact that there's just 3 mermaids and there's no other. This one has 2 more, you know, the mer guy and the mermaid principal. It's on Netflix. The way that they released it is they released half a season when the show first started, and then just this week, which is the reason why I'm bringing it up now, they released the second half, and it's really just a fun kids show. So really fun for the whole. Anybody under 25 would probably enjoy watching it. I just watched it because I had nothing better to do and looking for a new TV show. Which, by the way, if you guys have any show that's on Netflix streaming that you guys suggest that I go out and watch it. If it's a show I never heard of or never watched before, I'll give it a shot. I'll give anything a shot. I don't really want to watch dramas in particular, but if you have a good drama, whatever. But I'm looking mainly for action or comedies or a little bit of both or whatever. You know, just right underneath any show that you know is on streaming, whether it's a Netflix original or not. Now the next show I want to suggest for you guys. Now this one's a little bit more mature audience. The original show had to do with high school kids, even though it was a mature, basically it was a rated R, but it was MA, which is the equivalent of an R-rated for movies, but it's a TV show called Skins, and basically every 2 seasons it follows a group of kids between 16 and 20 years old, and then the next 2 years it's a completely different group. Now the first group, one of the characters, his younger sister, the director liked that character so much, and she even had a few episodes to herself, even though her brother was really the main character. Because it really, the first 2 seasons focused on this character named Tony. Well, his sister Effie, they gave her so many. I mean, she was such a good actress, mainly, that they actually gave her more lines, even though the part didn't originally call for it. And they liked her so much, and she was only 14 at the time when the show first started. So they actually liked her so much they kept her on for the next group of kids, which I'll bring. The reason why I'm bringing that up is she's actually on the brand new season as well. But I'll come to that in a bit. I'll get to that in a minute. So basically, so the second group, this time the show mainly evolves around Effie, who's, like I said, Tony's sister. And this time Tony's not in it. He went off to college, and the group that's following her around is a brand new group of friends. All about, like, the very first episode of that season is all about them meeting her. And okay, so basically how that, like, well, not season, but that group ended, which okay, let me go backtrack a little bit. Okay, so the first group, how that group ended, which, I mean, each character had its own ending kind of thing, but besides Tony, because he kind of went off to college, but besides that, the secondary character was mainly, who was Tony's best friend, was Sid. His girlfriend, named Cassie, went off to New York, and Sid's character went to New York as well to try to meet up with her. And then I forget, it's been so long since I watched it, but either they just barely meet up and that's when the credits end, or it ends on him being in New York and trying to search for her and not knowing if he's going to find her or not, and then it ended. Either way, it kind of ended like not knowing, okay, where's it going to go from here? You know, okay, he meets her in New York, now what? So it kind of ended like that. And then when the show started, when the show started again, like I said, Effie was the main character for the new season, and there's kind of a little bit, through dialogue only, there's kind of a little bit closure of Tony's character, because Effie said, oh yeah, my brother went off to college, oh yeah, which, by the way, he gets hit by a bus in the earlier season, which they bring back in the later series. But so basically they have closure there. So, and then in the second and third season, or third and fourth rather, it evolves around Effie, mainly around a love triangle kind of, with Effie, Cook, and Freddie. And JJ also has a crush on her, but there's no way in hell that Effie and JJ would get together, because he's kind of like the class clown, and Effie has zero interest in him whatsoever. She's madly in love with Freddie, but usually, and with Cook, she's like friends with benefits kind of thing. And then they go back and forth to her sleeping with Cook, but then going out with Freddie, then sleeping with Freddie, and then, you know, all for 2 seasons. But basically, at the end of the fourth season, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because those characters come back for the last season. So I'll get to that in a minute. So basically, the end of the fourth season is Effie goes to this therapist because she starts having freak outs, like flashbacks to her brother, like I said earlier, who gets hit by a bus. Now, he's 100% fine, I mean, maybe not 100% fine, but he's at least, you know, living a life. And so that's why I don't 100% buy that she would all of a sudden, like maybe right after it happened, but not 3 years later. But anyways, but that's what the storyline is that she freaks out, so she goes to this therapist. the therapist uses hypnotherapy, meaning that he hypnotizes her. But then we start kind of getting the idea that this guy isn't exactly who he says he is. Meaning, like, yeah, he's able to hypnotize her, but he's also, you get the idea that he might also be, like, sleeping with her and then brainwashing her so that she doesn't believe it. And kind of, like, he's, like, telling her that that she should break up with Freddie and never go out with Cook at all and give up dating guys altogether. And then he starts like petting her hair and kissing her on the cheek. Like, you get the idea that he's like madly in love with her as well. And so basically, the second to last episode, spoiler alert here, but the second to last episode for the fourth season, Freddie confronts him and in his house, like sneaks into his house to try to find evidence that he's doing something he's not supposed to. And the guy pretty much takes a baseball bat and bam, you just see blood cover the screen. And then in the second episode, that's when the last episode of the season, that is, that's when we find out that most likely he killed Freddie. I mean, you never see Freddie ever again. And Cook ends up also breaking into his house, finding blood everywhere, and the baseball bat covered in blood. So you get the idea that he killed Freddie. So basically, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, he appears. Like, you know, Cook's like going through everything, finding the baseball bat, finding everything. The guy grabs the baseball bat and tells Cook, "Oh, you shouldn't have been here. Now I'm gonna have to kill you too." And then all of a sudden, Cook says, "You don't know who the fuck you're dealing with." Grabs the baseball bat away from the guy and yells out, "I'm motherfucking Cook, and I'm gonna freaking kill you," and blah blah blah. I don't know. I forget the exact dialogue, but he had this badass speech, and then end of credits. So you kind of get the idea that Cook most likely killed him, but you know, who knows? The guy could have killed Cook. But no, Cook killed him because he comes back as well in the season. Cook does, that is, not the character, but not the therapist. But okay, so basically, so the character of Effie, Cook, and like I said, Cassie. Well, Cassie and Sid, but you don't really see Sid again. So basically, in the new, okay, well. Before I get there, I'll get there in a second. This is already running 10 minutes. I didn't expect to be this long, but okay. Before I get there, I just want to say, in the 5th and 6th season, it has a brand new group of characters. And in that character, like the first season, one of the main characters dies early on, and then the whole season is all the rest of the characters dealing with the fact that their friend is gone. And in the second season, one of the characters gets married, and it's all dealing with the friend getting married. Which, I don't know, it was decent. Not quite as dramatic. Like, all the other seasons are all like kind of like, the thing I love about the show is a little bit of everything. I mean, it's drama, it's comedy, and it's horror, and it's everything. Which I'll get to what another thing I like about each episode. It's like its own movie. Meaning that there might be one episode that's like, oh, this is a comedy. Another episode, oh, this is a horror movie. Another episode, oh, this is a soap opera. You know, and that's the thing I like about this. Okay, so now. So those characters that we see, I don't even remember the names of them. Those characters we don't see, at least not in the 7th season. We might see them in the 8th or 9th if the show continues, which I think it might continue, but in the sense of, well, okay, basically the 7th season is the wrap-up of the original characters, and maybe they have a few more of the original season characters that they might do for the 8th season, and then the 9th and 10th season might be a wrap-up of the new characters that we got. But that's just all speculation. So anyway, so the 7th season is the character of Effie, for the first 2 episodes. So Effie comes back. You also see Naomi, which is the lesbian from the original series, um, and you see one of the twins, the one that's also a lesbian, because the other, one's sober, one's straight, and the other's a lesbian. So the one that's a lesbian, because she's dating Naomi. Now Naomi is kind of a she's the main, well, she's the secondary, like Effie's the main character. The storyline around Effie is that she works at a stock market and she gets inside trade knowledge and then she gets busted. Basically, that's the bottom line. I mean, to put it in 30 seconds, that's basically what the storyline is. I thought it was decent, but I mainly just liked it because it's because, oh, by the way, cause this is 4 years later after the original series. Well, 2 years, I guess, for Effie. After the last time we saw Effie, so it's kind of just nice, seeing the character again. So basically, her storyline is kind of like, give or take. And this whole episode, I think, it's just nice seeing the characters again, and it felt like, I would say like it felt like this one actually felt like a Lifetime movie. Actually, it didn't really feel like an episode at all of Skins. It felt more like a Lifetime, one of those not really feel good, one of those sad. Because to be honest, I mean, they had fun moments, but the majority of this was kind of sad. So if you like sad dramas that are on like Lifetime and stuff, then give it a shot. But it was just nice seeing the characters and all that. And Naomi's storyline, which is the only other storyline. I mean, the twins, the one twin, Emily, comes in Naomi's storyline just for a few minutes, and then she's gone. Like, she's hardly in it at all. And this is, by the way, 2 episodes but one story. And then there's 6 episodes total, 3 stories. So anyway, so this one was called Fire. And basically her storyline was that she had cancer. I mean, she's basically the roommate of Effie, and then you find out at the end of the first episode she has cancer, and then it's just her dealing with having cancer and all that. And I thought it was a decent episode if it was a regular episode of the show, but it's not. It's supposed to be the farewell for this character, and which I thought they were going to bring Effie back for the episode 5 and 6 because it has to do with Cook, who, like I said, was their friends with benefits. But no, none of the storylines actually intersect with each other, at least not in this season. But so basically, she has cancer. I'm not going to give out what happens, but it's kind of what you expect to happen in that situation of what I just told you. What you think is the end, that's the end. I'll leave it at that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then go ahead and watch it. Or if you do have an idea but you think it would be fun to watch, go watch it anyways. Now, the second episode was revolving around Cassie, who was the one that I was saying earlier, went to New York, and that's kind of where they left it at. It's her in New York. Sid meets up with her, and then that's where they left it. Well, you find out through dialogue that what happened afterwards was she ended up. So this is kind of just bringing closure to the storyline, which is the whole purpose of this episode, anyways. I'll get to what the episode itself was about, but basically, she says through dialogue that she ended up traveling. She didn't say Sid by name. I think they purposely did it so that that way you don't actually have to watch the past seasons to know who she's talking about. But she just said a guy, but basically we know she's talking about Sid. She went to so she met up with him in New York, and then she went to all around Europe and all around all these other all these countries all around the world. And then eventually, somewhere down the line, she wanted to continue traveling, and he didn't. So he went back to wherever he was from. She kept on traveling for about another year. The last time we saw her was about 4 years ago. Because she wasn't on the 4th and 5th season. She was only on the 1st and 2nd. And the last time we saw her was the last episode of the 2nd season. So anyway, so basically, so she traveled with him for about 2 years. Then she traveled alone for about a year, and then after that, somewhere down the line, she found herself in London, and that's where she is now. Okay, so basically, that's how she got to London. That's she explains that, and that's kind of being closer to this series of, oh, okay, that's how she got there. That's the end of that story. So basically, in this episode, this guy keeps on taking pictures of her, and at first it was just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute, blah blah blah. Then it started being creepy, where it was like pictures of her in her underwear, when she was, because basically her apartment has like this big huge window, and she basically, as she's getting undressed, would stand in front of the window, and the guy would take pictures, and then you would post it on the internet, and then we get all these likes. Basically, at the end of the first episode, she finds out that it's her coworker. She confronts him, and then slowly she starts falling in love with him. She starts appreciating the fact that that a lot of people like the pictures and like her, and she actually gets a modeling career out of it, and she starts falling in love with the photographer, and I can very much relate to that photographer. I mean, it very much reminded me of me, except for the fact that his camera was way more expensive than any camera I can afford. It's like a camera I dream of. It's basically like a freaking $300 Canon with the freaking $3,000 Canon, rather, with a $3,000 lens. It's the camera I dream of having, and maybe someday if I save up my money I could afford one. But anyways, getting back to the storyline, they kind of leave it on a note where it wasn't really sad, but it wasn't really happy either. This one felt the most, out of the 3 episodes, this one felt the most like a regular episode of Skins. And it's kind of, oh, and another thing too is, Cassie, when we first see her in the original series, she was addicted to drugs. She was anorexic, would refuse to eat. She almost killed herself because all she would do is take drugs and not even eat food at all. And so this whole episode, we find out that, I mean, she's not exactly fat, but she actually is a healthy weight at this moment. And there's more than one scene where she comes in contact with people that have drugs, and they offer her drugs, and she actually turns them down and says, no, that's not me anymore, and she even refuses to drink. So it's kind of her, it's kind of showing us that she's growing up and given up the whole party life situation. So that much I actually appreciated of the episode. And this episode I would give a thumbs up. I would say it was my favorite episode out of the new season. It's called Push, parts 1 and 2. And like I said, it felt the most, and it was just nice. It felt the most like a regular episode, and it was just nice seeing Cassie again, because we haven't seen her since 4 years ago. So that was really nice. And then the last storyline, which is episodes episodes 5 and 6, called Rush, is dealing with the character of Cook. Now, Cook, unlike Cassie, and Effie for that matter, Cook is 100% exactly the way we left him off. And he's kind of fucked up in the head a little bit more so than he was before, so he's kind of like worse than he is, actually. But he's a drug dealer. He ends up being a chaperone for the drug dealer, and basically, without giving away too much, the movie turns out to, the episode turns out to a flat-out horror slash psychotic thriller. Basically, the drug dealer that he's working for ends up suspecting that that the other drug dealer, not Cook, but the other one that's working with them, is sleeping with his girlfriend, and so he just flats out kills him. And that's kind of how the first episode ends. So the first episode, it starts off with a kind of like a regular episode of Skins, and then he kills the guy, and then the next episode is a flat-out horror movie. I mean, and it was really good. I mean, a really good horror movie, where it's basically like, I can't think of maybe Joyride, or maybe that's a bad example, but any movie where it's like basically a chase movie. I mean, it's basically Cook along with the drug dealer's girlfriend and Cook's girlfriend. So the three of them get in the car and they just go from one area to the other, to the other, to the other, and the drug dealer keeps on following them around, killing everybody in sight. And it's a flat-out suspense thriller show. And I suggest, for that matter, if you like thrillers and you have never seen a single episode of Skins, just watch. Just start from episode 1 of Rush and episode 2, and you'll love the show. I mean, and then as for the closure of the character, we do find out that Cook did kill the guy, because we didn't flat out see it. We just see him saying he's going to, and he grabs the bat, and they kind of leave it to your imagination that, yeah, he's probably going to kill the crap out of him. But basically, Cook confessed that he says in this like dramatic scene, he did kill the guy, and because of the fact that the guy killed his friend, and he thought that it would kind of bring closure to the whole situation, and he thought he can relax now, knowing that he brought vengeance for his friend. And he said he killed him and nothing changed. It just made things worse, because now he has to run away from the cops, and that's the reason why he becomes a drug dealer, and that's the reason why he's still fucked up, is because he can't stay in one place, because he's constantly running away from the cops, just going from city to city to city. And this is like 2 years later, and he's still running away from the cops. And now he has, on top of running away from the cops, he also has to deal with somebody that's trying to kill him, because the guy, basically, which I think I skipped, is the drug dealer, because of the fact that Cook and the drug dealer's girlfriend witnessed the murder. Now that's the reason why he's after Cook and the girlfriend, and also because they fucking freaked out and ran away. Like, if they just stayed still and said, "Oh, no big deal, you killed somebody," then he probably wouldn't be chasing after them. But because they freaked out, running away, he thinks they're gonna tell the cops on him. But really, Cook doesn't really want to involve the cops, because if he confessed to the cops, "Oh yeah, I saw him kill somebody," well, they'll be like, "Oh, well, you're wanted for murder too," and then they might even blame Cook for the murder, so blame him for the murder of the drug dealer as well as the therapist. So anyway, so that's Skins, and that's about it for TV talk. I didn't expect this segment to be 26 minutes, but let me know if you guys end up watching any of those shows, and if you guys enjoyed them or not. Aloha! And here's the next day.